guys. Right, it goes. Good morning, welcome to Morning Outlook. This is Kim speaking on Monday the 25th of September. So, quickly let's run through the news that's due out today. Let's pour this in. So we've got the Bank of Japan governor spoken this morning. It's already spoken. It's an unexpected speech, but has very little effect on the markets here, or particularly the yen. Not really said anything that's not been already said. Funny enough, last week. We got this morning the German IFO business climate. It can create a little bit of volatility, not necessarily very much. It's seen as being high on here. Germany has really been struggling with manufacturing, etc., and services. So it'll be interesting to see what comes out of there. But it's not a game changer. The ECB president then speaking at 2 p.m. this afternoon. Now there are a number of other speakers that are not listed on this system. There's quite a few Fed speakers, 3 o'clock and 6 o'clock tonight. We've got those speaking. We've got a Fed speaker at 13:50. Now just checking. We've got a couple of ECB speakers that are not on there. Now sometimes it's these speakers that I've got here, then they may be at a university. I can't see exactly where they're presenting. I just know from my news service that they're speakers, depending on I say university, but that's just an example. So they may be quite a neutral meeting, and they might not say anything too much about the economy, believe it or not. Anyway. So we go, not a great deal today. This week, just looking ahead a little bit, just because it helps us sort of determine whether we're going to be sitting there waiting for something major. There's not a great deal at the early part of the week here. New home sales, etc. in the US. We'll probably see those being battered a little bit with the higher interest rates, but that's to be expected. Australian inflation on Wednesday. Core durable goods Wednesday. But these are not major. We've had all these central banks out. Hopefully we'll get a bit more of a move at some stage now. Yep, there's nothing I can see immediately there which is we're gonna be sitting waiting for, unlike what we had in the last couple of weeks with the Fed meetings, Bank of England, ECB, etc. Right. So let's look at the technicals running through the euro dollar first, and it's still in its downward trend. Nothing changed there, but you come down to the 4 hourly, it's going very choppy, very consolidated. I was looking at this earlier on. Where's it going to go? Really no clarity to me at all here at the moment. There's a potential it'll break down again, and maybe if it starts selling beyond 106, 41, around about this area, 41, 42 area, I could be interested for the short back down to these prior lows, but I'm not interested in buying this market. I know some people will say, well, look, it's going to do this out to the upside. Not interested. I'm only a seller on the euro dollar, so this is a bigger trend. So pound dollar. Again, I can only be a seller on the dailies here. So this, I was looking at this a little while ago, might be setting something up a little bit clearer, or perhaps not. It was maybe looking at a different market. They're all looking the same this morning, but it would be nice to see it come off its daily pivot today. I'm just going to put a lot on this and see its reaction off that daily pivot. So I won't sell directly into it, but looking really to looking for the breakdown and a continuation to the downside. Again, lots of consolidation. We've had 8 hours or so of barely any movement. Now we've had the governor of the Bank of Japan speaking, and there's hardly any movement through that. It just shows he couldn't create anything this morning. People aren't wanting to play. Bank of Japan, dollar yen even. Well, we're seeing it around its prior highs here. As much as this is a market that's pushing up and up and up, I was wondering if we would see something more of a correction, because one thing the Bank of Japan governor didn't mention, well, and they've been mentioning before, is the money policies in terms of whether they'll intervene. And I've been sort of sitting around this. Technically it's certainly in an upward trend, but they have talked about intervention recently, but it looks like that's not going to be happening or certainly ain't going to discuss it at the moment. So it looks like it could be for more upside, but I just can't see. I mean, it might be a breakout of the prior highs here or something, but it's just too choppy and ugly at the moment. Probably best left for me. Aussie dollar. Aussie dollar still sitting in its range as well. It's a bit of range trading today, but ranges without much of a range. This one has sold off a little through the Asian session there, but it's put lower highs in. It maybe a retest of the pivot on the underside might come into a sell, but there's nothing that really catches my eye immediately. US dollar CAD. CAD's been strengthening against the US dollar. Well, the obvious thing I'm looking at here is a breakdown here. You see it's got a bit of a head and shoulders, believe it or not, as well. If it was to start rolling back over again, it could be quite decent. Looking back towards the lows, maybe a bit more on that, so there's some potential there. At the moment it's in no man's land a little bit here. Looking shorter time frame, if it wants to get in a bit quicker, maybe if it breaks down through its daily pivot, it could be a starting point. New Zealand dollar, US dollar. Lots of consolidation still going on. It's just not of interest there. The Swissy is a buy potential, but it's in such a mess. Maybe if we get a decent retrace, we'll be able to give it a buy, but it's quite messy at the moment. Okay, moving across to the cross pairs then, euro yen. Continue to chop along here. Really, I mean, there you go. I've got my channel in there. It might give me some short-term trades, but really, it's quite ugly at the moment. Euro pound's had a trend to the upside here and may continue to do so. Again, it's just right by its tops at the moment. I'd like to see it sort of again, a retracement would be decent. A possible buy on this. Spends lots of time chopping, so you just got to be patient with this one. But then it breaks. It's more of a swing trade if it sets up. But nothing there at the moment. It needs to pull back. Euro Aussie, not doing a great deal this morning. It's got a bit of a gallop on, but pulling back at the moment. We'll see. This is just really a range trade that's sitting here. We're sitting between these highs and lows. Biggest trend is, well, it had been trading quite nicely to the downside, but it's just got into this, as I say, this range. So possible sell towards the highs there if it gets there. EURCAD. This has been running down really nicely. I was mentioning this a short while ago in the room, but it's sort of come to a bit of a standstill again for this. A break of the pivot there could be a bit more interesting for me for the downside, but at the moment, well, that's it really. Pound Aussie, similar to the Euro Aussie, really not doing too much. It's got it's selling down. I just need to wait. Could actually, I'm going to pop the alert on here. I'm looking for the sell if we get into the break of the touch of the weekly pivot there. If it starts coming off from that, I would be interested on a bit more of a swing basis. Short term, well, again that same sort of principle. The trigger would be below the lows here. So there's the trigger there. Right. Finally, pound CAD. I like this quite a bit. Look at it; it's been selling like a good one. It's just waiting again for the breakdowns here. Now got this on the hourlies. We'll see what it does this morning, but certainly again, a mini swing really. These might need to be held on to for a while. We do get some chop within the price action. This is 4-hourly picture, so we do get some chops. So it needs some patience, but looking okay for the downside there. Obviously nice strong downtrends on the 4-hourlies, dailies. So just wait for that. That's pretty much it for me on the Forex side of things. Quick look at the gold. So gold just chopping along in the inside. There's not a great deal I want to do with this. It's just looking ugly at this stage. Oil looks like it could be setting back for the upside at some stage. I don't trade this personally until the afternoons. It might set something up. It's quite messy though on the hourly picture here, but we might get a continuation to the upside. This is something for the afternoon. It started to do the right things. Bit horrible spiky action there, but it has put a higher low in prior to that. It could at some stage, of course, just become quite a chop as it sort of reaches near its highs. Okay, equity markets, quick look through S&Ps here from daily point of view. Last week, worst week for a long time. It's been selling quite strongly to the downside. Still got some further downside potentially to go on this. I think it's sort of just where it's sitting at the moment, just into its quarterly pivot on here. Just looks like a break of that would see a continuation down there. I'm just looking at this sort of wave sort of formation here, pushing up and then selling off again. Just looks like it could have some, more downside. Dow Jones, similar picture. It hasn't yet come down to its quarterly pivot, but looking soft. And the Nasdaq held up a little bit better, but again targets below in terms of that quarterly pivot, so they're all looking quite soft. DAX this morning, well, chopping along at the moment, he says. It's certainly in a downward trend here. Maybe a break at some point below the daily pivot would be an opportunity to try and ride it down towards its S1. It certainly looks in the say downward trend that's kicking through at the moment. And finally the FTSE. So the FTSE consolidating where it is at this stage. It was sitting as a bit of the darling of the markets, but at the moment it's just come to a bit of a standstill. Quite a mess. I wouldn't want to be in that trade, in that market at the moment. Full stop. Right, okay, that's pretty much it for me today. I'll catch you in the morning. Bye for now. Sorry, that's not for you guys in the trade.